The script for the film strip David, King of Israel, for the learning package The Three Kings of Israel. In the yesteryears of centuries ago, in a small portion of this vast world of ours, there lived a people called the children of Israel. From them came certain men and women through whom God revealed himself to all mankind. One of these was David, King of Israel. Although David had been chosen by God to be king of Israel, he was forced to hide in the wilderness of Judah to save himself from the wrath of Saul, who was still on the throne. But David was not alone. More than 400 men from all over the country had joined him, relatives, men in debt, and those who wanted to get away from the rule of King Saul. One day word came to David that their old enemies, the Philistines, were attacking the town of Keilah. David wanted to go and help the people of Keilah, but his men were afraid that if they left their hiding place, King Saul would find them. Then God gave David his answer. Go down to Keilah and fight, for I will give the Philistines into your hand. God gave David the victory at Keilah, and the news soon reached the ears of Saul. Saul said, God has given David into my hand, for he shut himself in by entering a town that has walls and gates. Tell all my soldiers to get ready to go down to Keilah. We will surround David and his men. He shall not escape me this time. But David did escape and hid in the wilderness. There Jonathan, the king's son, and his boyhood friend, came to see him secretly. And Jonathan said to him, Don't be afraid, for my father will not find you. You will be king of Israel, and I will be with you. My father also knows that this is so. And David answered, If your words prove true, Jonathan, and I am king someday, then I'll keep my covenant with you. You will always be my closest friend, and nothing shall come between us. I swear it before the Lord. But no matter where David and his men hid, Saul and his army followed them from hiding place to hiding place. One day they even came to the very cave where David happened to be. David told his men to remain quiet and stay in the cave out of sight. Saul entered the cave not knowing that David was inside. And the soldier said, Well, this is the day of which the Lord told me when he said, I will turn your enemies over to you, and you can do with them what you like. But instead of killing Saul, David crept out and cut off a corner of the king's robe. Then he went back into the shadows. As Saul left the cave, David came out of his hiding place and called to the astonished king, My lord and king, why do you listen to these men who say David is trying to harm you? Today you can see how the Lord delivered you to me in the cave. My men wanted me to kill you, but I spared your life. See, my lord, the corner of your robe is in my hand. Saul then said, You are a better man than I, for you have done good, and I have repaid you with evil. May the Lord reward you for what you have done to me this day. And so, for the time being, Saul repented and forgot his jealousy, and returned home with his army. But Saul's change of heart didn't last long. Soon he tried to capture David again. Late one night, David and his nephew, Abishai, made their way to Saul's camp and entered his tent. Abishai wanted to slay the sleeping Saul, but David would not let him. David said, As the Lord lives, the Lord will punish him, or the day will come when he will die a natural death, or die in battle. Take his spear and his water jug, and let us go. Then David went to a hill on the other side of the valley and called down to Saul's men. He told them they had not kept a very good watch over their king, and held up Saul's spear and water jug to prove it. Saul realized that David had once again spared his life. And he said, My son, I have sinned. Come back, David. I will not try to harm you. But David could no longer trust Saul. David was tired of hiding from Saul. He decided to leave Israel and went to live in the land of the Philistines. There he stayed until one day a messenger brought him Saul's crown and armband with news that the king Saul had been killed in battle. When David learned that his friend Jonathan had died in the same battle, he was overcome with grief. David returned to his own country, but because of arguments and war among his people, 7 years passed before the leaders of Israel made David their king. The shepherd boy, whom Samuel had anointed many years before, was now king of Israel. Because David loved God, he decided to build a new tabernacle in Jerusalem for the Ark of the Covenant and to bring the Ark there. This was a happy day for the people. The Ark was very sacred to the people of Israel because it was a sign that God was with them. David led in singing songs of praise and thanksgiving to God. But though the Ark had been brought back to Jerusalem, David wasn't satisfied. He called the prophet Nathan to talk it over. And David said, "I am living in a cedar palace, and the Ark of God is kept in a tent." Nathan responded, "What is on your mind?" David said, "I want to build a temple to honor God, a beautiful house of the Lord in which to worship Him, and a place to keep the Ark of the Covenant." But God had other plans for the building of His temple. That night, while Nathan was at prayer, God told him that David's son was to build a house of worship for him. Nathan went to King David and repeated God's words. "I took you when you were just a shepherd boy following the sheep and made you king of Israel, and I have been with you wherever you went. When you die, your son will be king, and I will be with him. He shall build a house for me." Then David remembered how good God had been to him ever since he had been a boy, and he went into the tabernacle to say thank you in prayer. David said, "Who am I, O Lord God, and what is my family that you have blessed us so much? And even this you consider not to be enough. You have given me great promises for the future of my family." For 40 years, David was king of Israel. He helped the people fight their enemies. He led them in worshiping God and obeying His commandments. Here ends this tape. Please rewind it to the very beginning.